Ahoy folks, Krago here for Pure Xbox. In this video, we'll be reviewing the action JRPG Sandland. But before we get going, this review was written by Liam Doolan for PureXbox.com and spun into video by me. Everyone ready? How about you, Beelzebub?
Let's go! Nice! One down. Here I go!
The resurgence of Sandland is a bittersweet moment for fans of the legendary manga artist Akira Toriyama, who sadly passed away in early March of this year. Whilst he was best known as the creator of Dragon Ball, he also contributed to many successful video games during his lifetime, crafting the characters for Dragon Quest, Chrono Trigger, and even the Xbox 360 title Blue Dragon. This brings us to Sandland. Following Toriyama's success with past hits like Dr. Slump and Dragon Ball, in the year 2000 he released a single-volume manga series following a ragtag trio who attempt to end the water drought in their desert wasteland home. To do this, they must find the legendary spring, then share the water they find with all their thirsty neighbors, all the while putting a stop to the selfish king who controls Sandland's water supply. One event leads to another, and before you know it, this unlikely band of heroes becomes the army's most wanted enemy.
I'll take him out myself!
So, how does this adventure translate as a video game? As the player, you'll take control of the demon prince Beelzebub, who is supported by a human sheriff named Rao, and Thief, a friend, or should we say fiend, and royal advisor of the prince's family. Then there are support casts like Beelzebub's father Lucifer, and eventually other characters come into play. If you have already read or watched Sandland, this will all be very familiar. Whilst the game's story does mix things up throughout the adventure, the overall skeleton remains intact.
A freaking sandstorm? What lousy timing!
However, enough about this. The game itself is an action RPG featuring real-time combat divvied into two parts. There's the boots on the ground playstyle, where you take control of Beelzebub, and then there's the meteor machine combat, where you pilot all sorts of wasteland and cyberpunk-like vehicles, many of which, unsurprisingly, look like they're straight out of Dragon Ball's Capsule Core.
Good, we're in position. Fire! Impossible!
Most of your time in this drought-stricken wasteland will be spent traveling from one quest marker to another in the vehicle of your choice. In the early segments, you start out with an old army tank, which you steal from one of the king's bases. Over time, you'll also unlock fast travel, which can drastically speed up mission progress. Like all good RPGs, the most important part in Sandland is to level up your characters and vehicles, unlocking new abilities for combat, more vehicle options, and more crafting to ensure you can survive the next battle. Leveling happens naturally as you progress through the main quest arc, and side missions assist this process. The open world design of the map means that you can set out on a main quest and get immediately sidetracked with some other shiny icon or point of interest. This could take on the form of a random event, such as a rescue mission, a bounty, fetch quest, or just some other distraction, potentially putting the main quest on hold, at least for a while. Unlike some other open world experiences, Sandland doesn't feel quite as overwhelming. The combat is obviously what links all of this together. You'll face all sorts of enemies, from dinosaurs to the king's army, and in the later stages of the game you'll be duking it out against giant creatures, as well as some other fancy enemy types that we'll let you discover. The combat is at its best when you're in a bot, and it's even more satisfying when you apply an upgrade with some boosted stats or effects, and then return to the battlefield to test it out. Although Beelzebub shows promising signs of power in the manga and anime, the fistfights he'll partake in and the displays of strength aren't half as spectacular as Dragon Ball. There's some basic brawling and combos similar to what you've probably seen in other Bandai Namco games before, and you can utilize special moves, in this case fueled by Beelzebub's dark power, but these fights don't always feel quite as enjoyable. Some of the camera angles during these fights can be a bit awkward, and targeting enemies isn't always the easiest either. It's the vehicle battles where your fight against the king's army feels more impactful and gives you a little more freedom. Here you can call on your team's powers with special commands and even summon different vehicles mid-fight to get an edge. The controls for vehicles make multitasking a possibility, allowing you to swap between weapons like machine guns and rockets, heal on the fly, automate movement, and call on backup all at once. Your party members can also help out with Rao jumping in his tank and Thief scouring the battlefield for new items and goodies. These battles happen across the entire world map, and throughout the game you'll find yourself in dungeon-like locations such as ruins and destroyed battleships that typically lead to pivotal story beats. Unfortunately, these areas can be labyrinthian at times, making these sections slightly tedious and a bit harder to navigate. Normally, you'll fight a lot of enemies until you get to a boss.
Uh-oh, it's catching fire!
You don't always have the backing of your tank either, with Beelzebub required to engage in multiple Metal Gear-like stealth missions, which essentially means combat isn't an option.
At least that was sort of fun.
Breaking up the fights, however, are specific vehicle mechanics, required to overcome terrain and even solve some basic puzzles. This includes bots like the Battle Armor, which can lift objects, the Jump Bot to reach higher spots on the map, and even a hovercraft which can transport our heroes across water. Beelzebub also has the occasional platform-like moment where he'll be jumping over boulders or hopping across a bunch of crates from a side-on perspective. Another important aspect of Sandland is the crafting mechanic. This allows your crew to upgrade their vehicles and even make new ones. You can equip your bots with more powerful weapons, customize color palettes, and add some personal touches too. Vehicle parts can be crafted, discovered, and even dropped by enemies in battle. In typical RPG fashion, you'll come across unique parts as well, which come with special perks and higher levels of rarity.
Do you think we'll ever explore all of Sandland?
And this brings us to some other customization aspects. Early in your adventure, you'll visit a nearby abandoned town called Spino. Beelzebub and his crew agree to revitalize this location, and so it becomes one big side quest.
So this is Spino?
The idea here is to locate individuals with certain skill sets who can help rejuvenate the place. What these NPCs bring to Spino varies, from services such as general stores to home decor shops and much more. Obviously, this isn't the first time we've seen something like this, but it's still a nice way to rejuvenate in between main missions. And over time, your town will develop into a thriving locale, matching the energy of other settlements around Sandland. One more location in Spino worth mentioning is your very own room, which is accessed at the back of the garage. Here is your personal hangout, which you can customize however you like. This also channels certain lifestyle sims where you can change furniture and even the themes right down to the wallpaper, floors, and door. It's yet another way that you can enjoy some downtime and spend your money in between all the tank battles. Throughout Sandland, there are all sorts of familiar RPG elements too. You'll spend some nights at an inn, rest by campfires with your party, and reactivate radio towers to uncover new landmarks on the map and speed up travel times. Bringing all of this together is the stunning aesthetics, which match the anime, film, and manga before it. The landscape looks the part. However, what really brings out the personality in this universe are its characters, which all have the trademark design traits Toriyama is known for. The characters here are iconic, memorable, and can easily stand alongside his creations from Dragon Quest and other series. And finally, as for the game's sound and audio, it matches the mood and delivers the same levels of joy as the recent series. The Japanese and English voice actors for the major characters also appear to be the same based on the game's credits.
This is bad. Retreat!
Sandland for Xbox Series X and S not only does a great job bringing one of Akira Toriyama's arguably lesser-known works to life, but is also a lovely way to say goodbye to a man who left an enormous impact on the manga and anime industry as well as the world of video games. Although it's not necessarily an evolutionary experience on the action RPG front, it should still be a fun ride from start to finish for fans of the genre and source material. Will you be picking up Sandland in video game form? Have you read the original manga series? Let us know in the comments. As always, thanks for watching. All that's left to say is bye-bye for now. Cheerio!